What's up, it's Swing, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got an internship at WEBTOON. My internship was in 2019, and right now obviously it's 2022. So the internship process has changed a lot and it's gotten a lot more competitive over the years. So I can talk a little bit about my experience, and then towards the end of the video, I'll give a little bit of insight about how to apply in 2022 if you're interested in becoming a producer. Full disclaimer, I am not in charge of the selection process, so I can only speak from experience. These are the qualities that we usually look for in applicants and the kind of things that we assess. So without further ado, let's get started from the very beginning. How my internship experience went at WEBTOON. Alright, so to get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background first. I initially started out as an art major and then realized, maybe that wasn't for me, so I switched into psychology, but I ended up getting an animation minor, so that way I had just kind of things that I could explore and things of that sort. And while that was happening, I also started drawing on Instagram and posting that on Instagram and getting quite a bit of following, quite a bit of traction. Those are the kind of the things that I started off with just inherently as I was looking to apply to places my junior year of college. Let's just move on and talk about what the application was and what I applied for and how all of that went. The year was 2019 and I was still that naive, dorky, short-haired skater girl. You know, she wanted to do something related to art but didn't really know what, so she just put her application everywhere and just hoped that someone would take her. In 2019, I was very dead set on just gaining internship experience because I was quite confused and not really too sure if I really wanted to stay in the animation field. And I interned for free at a small animation studio called Toonstar. I mentioned this because if you're applying to a company, it's good to have previous internship experience to show that you have worked in other places before and you know what the internship scene is like. I just threw my application everywhere and hoped that somebody would take me. And one of them was WEBTOON. Actually, WEBTOON was the one I was most excited about because just that year my friend really got me into WEBTOONs. So when the application opened, I decided to apply for everything. I was basically like, just take me. It doesn't matter where I go, just take me please. They had internships for development, internships for script writing, and internships for thumbnail art. And I applied to all three. And all three of the applications required different things to submit. So I did quite a bit of work. Can't say how well I did, but I tried my best and just submitted it and crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. And they got back to me concerning my script writing, which I thought was really interesting because I was like, but I draw. You know, like I'm an artist and I don't write. I could definitely show you guys what script I turned in. I actually adapted Howl's Moving Castle. It not only showed like what I was interested in, like stylistically, like what movies I like to watch, it also you know, it was just like a really pleasant scene that I saw would be very effective like in a webtoon format. And I'm also going to talk a bit about the resume that I turned in. So this is the resume that I turned in. It looks very fun, looks very fresh, got a little drawing of myself. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck I was doing. It looks cool, I guess, but I was just crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. And especially in the animation and the entertainment industry, you need to make sure your resume looks very fun and has like a style that kind of looks like your style and is not only like full of substance but also just looks like you have a bit of graphic design knowledge. So after that, they're like, hey, let's have you come in, we're gonna have a little interview. And I was like, sure, but I was also really fucking nervous because this is the first time I've had like a legit company interview me, and I had to go into the building to get interviewed. It wasn't like, oh, like a Zoom call or something like that, or a phone call. So I was scared shitless. And I just remember just walking into the office and being like, on the verge of tears, like, if I could work here, that would be so cool. The pillows are great. There's a WEBTOON logo on the wall. For the first round of interviews, I talked to Quinn. And Quinn, as I've mentioned before, is the lead manager for our department. And I was very, very, very surprised because she was so sweet and so nice. And all we did really was just talk about webtoons, and we shared like what our favorite webtoons are. And that's when I realized, like, oh, the people who are interviewing are more interested in whether or not I have a very deep knowledge of webtoons in general. So she asked so many questions like, what's your favorite webtoon? Which webtoons do you like? Which artists do you like? What kind of art style do you like? That's kind of how the conversation went, and it was just really, really chill. I just had a lot of fun, even though I was just sweating so much and like my pits were probably just like dripping with sweat. Be prepared to talk about the things that you're really passionate about, and don't shy away from it at all. Like, don't think that it's too nerdy or too weeby or too whatever. We're all nerds here. Like, we're all the nerdiest nerds that you could possibly nerd to. So if you like something, just talk about it, and that passion is definitely going to give you more points during the interview. So I could actually call Quinn and have her talk a little bit about the interview because it's actually kind of hilarious. So I'm gonna give her a quick call and like ask her to tell the story because she loves telling the story.
So we were looking for interns who not only were good at art, but also were good at storytelling, and that was really hard to find. And so when we saw your application, your writing samples were really good, but then we also stalked you and found your Instagram and your art samples, and we were like, oh, loves Voltron, fantastic. I think that's how we knew you. I think before we were like, the one that likes Voltron, yeah.
Yeah, that was my main identity, was just Voltron and Clance.
And I was so excited for your interview, and then you rock up, like, past the reception in a crop top and, like, maybe cargo pants or shorts.
I could have sworn that day I wore a button down, but you keep on saying I wore a crop top.
No, you were wearing a crop top. I feel like you had a small skateboard even.
Yeah, no, I was definitely carrying a skateboard, yeah.
I remember you walking and I was instantly like, yes, this is Voltron girl, for sure. Yeah, I remember you walking in the room and just being like, well, this is the coolest person I've ever seen, and also, I'm intimidated, but I have to interview you. All the answers, you were just like, yeah, casual, like, yeah, I'm comfortable. You were like, kicking it up with your skateboard, and we were all just like, wow, you already live in this building.
I was so nervous.
And at the end of the interview, I remember being like, hey, do you have a second to do a second interview? Because we had to do second interviews, and David was always busy. And you were like, yeah, so I have a class, but like, sure, whatever. And you just stayed, and I was like, okay, cool. Who cares about school?
That's so funny because I honestly was so nervous. Like, this is the first time I like ever went into a building that was like a job. So it was the first
and it's like a big company building.
Yeah, I think part of why like I was just so cool about it, because like part of me was like, I don't think I'll get this job, but this is just a really cool experience.
Hey, maybe that's the key. It felt like the essence of swang. It was just like, you just felt very honest.
Exuding swang energy on my first impression. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is fun. Thank you for sharing, Quinn.
Yes, swang. If you need anything, let me know.
I will. So, the internship itself. When I got accepted, I was really, really surprised because first of all, I got accepted for script writing, and I have never, ever considered myself a professional writer. So I was really shocked, and I also went in with a lot of imposter syndrome. Despite all of that, the people there were all just super sweet and super nice. So yeah, I'm gonna talk a bit about what I did in the internship, and please note that this has definitely changed. So what we did was the first couple of weeks we read so many webtoons and read so many books because you know, as our department does, we make things into webtoons, including books. The latter half of the internship, we just started grinding out webtoons, and it started out with a pitch. And this is where Spells from Hell was conceived. So we were paired together to create and pitch a webtoon. And so me and Maria, who is now the in-house art lead of WEBTOON, go Maria, pitched Spells from Hell. For that, we just dove into our work. I went in as a script writer, and so I was writing scripts all day. And so it was just a very fun and a very enriching experience in general, where I did feel like I left the internship learning more about writing and the craft and webtoons. And after the internship was over, I continued to work as a freelancer writing scripts, namely Spells from Hell and Kind of Love, throughout my senior year. And little did dorky, short-haired skater girl Sarah know that 3 years later, she will be here in her room filming a YouTube video about the internship and looking through contracts all day and talking to freelancers and writing emails and being professional and going to meetings and doing all this kind of adult stuff. Anyways, so that is my experience. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what you should look forward to when you're applying to WEBTOON as of 2022. This only applies for if you want to be a producer at WEBTOON. It does not apply for any other position at WEBTOON. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Firstly, and I talked about this before, it's just know your webtoons. Our department specializes in making webtoons. And if you want to make a good webtoon, you better be reading webtoons in order to know what works and what doesn't. So the ideal candidate would be somebody who logs into the WEBTOON app every single day and reads a mixture of genres, drama, fantasy, whatever, and also is aware of plenty of Canvas series that are up right now and aware of, you know, artists that are maybe not as well known on the platform. So somebody who is an avid WEBTOON reader and knowledgeable about the platform. If you do these things and if you have a very wide knowledge of webtoons in general, you already have a leg up in comparison to all of the other applicants who don't read webtoons. So in order to stand out in your application for being a producer at WEBTOON, the most important thing that we test for is, I guess, your taste and skill sets when it comes to making a webtoon. This is a test that we do pretty often, where we provide you a bunch of art styles and artists to choose from, and we provide you a bunch of stories, pitches to choose from, and you match which story would best fit with which art style. This is the thing about webtoons, is that art style and story go hand in hand. If the art style isn't successful but the story is amazing, then the series won't do as good as it could be, right? And if the story isn't that good but the art style is amazing, sure, it could retain some readers, but eventually the readership will fall off because the story isn't engaging enough. So the combination of both story and art is so important, and you really need to have a good eye for both of these things, which is why we really want people who have both story writing and script writing and art experience. As producers, we always have kind of genres or things that we end up specializing in or gravitating towards, and so being very knowledgeable in one and passionate about one type of genre can really set you out. That really makes you stand out in front of the crowd and say, hey, this is what I do, this is what I like to do, and I think with my skill sets I can bring a lot to the table. And my final and last tip is just have good vibes and be a good teammate. Especially with our department, a lot of it has to do with being a good team player, and you have to show that you're courteous, you're open to listening, open to being flexible, and you are very responsible and good communicator. These are all qualities that are very, very important for our job because we're constantly working with people. We're constantly working with artists, with freelancers. Definitely the biggest things, if you can show this in your cover letter, or if you can show this in your previous experiences, whether you've worked with teams before, you've collaborated before, all of these kinds of team building are very important to show in the application as well. So those are my top 3 tips. I hope this video was informative for you, and for all of those who are looking for an internship, I wish you the best of luck. No matter what happens, you are on the right path and you are already doing great. No matter if you get into your dream internship or if you don't get into your dream internship, life always has a way and life is always working in your favor. So do not sweat, even if you do not get your dream internship, and just keep doing what you love. Keep working hard, and yeah, that's all I got for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!